Hare Krishna. Okay, we're going back because I'm just beginning this pastime, so there's newer and newer realizations. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Canto 10, Chapter 46, Text 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tamaha bhagavān preṣṭhaṁ bhaktam's ekāntinaṁ kvacit gṛhītvā pāṇiṁ prapannārti-haro hariḥ. The Supreme Lord Hariḥ, who relieves the distress of all who are surrendered to him, once took the hand of his fully devoted, dearmost friend, Uddhava, and addressed him as follows. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksur Unmulatam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasade Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Anyway, before I get into the pastime, for my writing, I read certain authors, intellectuals that I feel. So I read one article called, I Don't Want American Kids. And what it was is not that parents didn't want their kids in America. There's an increasing trend that they don't want them American. And it was very interesting. It described that there used to be in America 206 dual language schools. Now there are over 2,000. And a Jewish family puts their kids in a Japanese immersion, and there's all this phenomena. And this person was investigating, trying to figure it out, is because the American culture has become so infused with values that are not healthy for the kids, like distrust of authority, distrust of the parents, and they just want their kid, so proud that my kid has learned Greek and Latin by the time he's in the 3rd degree, and it's a fact that languages gradually represent the culture. I read, there was this book many, many years ago. It was called A Clockwork Orange. And there was an author called Anthony Burgess, and he lived in America for a while. And he was surprised at the prevalence of slang, because what slang is that it far out like great. Is it bad? Is it cool? Is it weird? Language is precise because the emblem of culture is communication. There's 3 aspects. What a culture is supposed to do is help you to communicate better, help you to relate better, and help you to learn better. And gradually, the American culture and language is losing that. and it results in so many kids on, antidepressants and this kind of thing and that. And they also said that it used to be in America that if someone's parents didn't speak English at home, they had a great disadvantage in the world. Now, immigrant families who don't speak English at home, their children are doing much better because within their language. And in one sense, that's why it's also becoming degraded, why I appreciate coming to Colombia. One friend of mine told me about the Catholic Church. It said, no institution saved as many people. No institution killed as many people. No institution had as many saints. No institution had as many sinners. No institution had as many celibates. No institution. What it meant is that when something's big, it has everything. But the fact of the matter is, I can see in the country that somehow or other, the institution carried certain values that kept things like family strong and tradition, and some kind of tradition strong, which has those values of respect, etc. And without some kind of reference to tradition, etc., something, then what happens is it is nothing to restrict one's carnal desires. So it was just an interesting, and the fact that never before has there been so many people leaving America. So just an interesting phenomena of degradation of culture and how it affects children. So now the story at hand. So we have this personality, Uddhava, and Krishna has to pick someone for the most confidential service. Because the first part of the service is you have to realize Krishna's heart. And this is the whole premise of bhakti, is no one shares their heart unless they trust someone else. And the trust is the person's service. So, because when you give your heart to someone, they can do one of two things. I mentioned this many times, better than anybody else. They can exploit you or they can serve you. So, so this is really confidential. And the more confidential something is, the more difficult it is for people to understand, because it's connected with the frame of reference is your own deep feelings. So especially confidential things, if you put out there, they can be so easily misunderstood and you could be so exploited, or even if it's not exploited, people can misunderstand. So who's he going to give this to? And not only that, the person has to be he has to have incredible qualities, not just devotion, but he has to be mantri. He has to be able to advise. He has to be to counsel people, to understand, to conceptualize, to communicate. And it's very difficult to negotiate because all these people are in such deep separation from Krishna. So how to carefully present things without making them more upset, how to get the message. So here he picks that person. And the other thing that's going to be very interesting in this story is because he picked the person who was a Sanga, he was a friend, he was most beloved, but because he picked someone who was the most respected in all that dynasty as Parama Uttama, the most intelligent person, and the most learned because he was the disciple of Brihaspati. He was the disciple of Brihaspati, and he had all these qualities. Then he is the perfect person to go into Vrindavan to do one thing. One, to have the depth of understanding in his heart and the abilities to counsel and communicate, and the ability to actually, Krishna, to trust him with this message, which is, it says, he said there's many messages, because you can give gyan, you know, you're not the body, and you can give so many other things. You can, but this is not just bhakti. This is the most, he can only relieve him with someone who can actually share. Yeah. He can only relieve him with someone who can only share the depth of his heart. So for Uddhava to go there, he's able to accomplish the mission of not only communicating Krishna's message, but he's able to bring that message back, because devotees are not envious. So when they find someone who's worshiping Krishna even more than them, it just enhances their appreciation of Krishna. So they're not envious. But what it does also is it highlights this incredible love of the gopis. It's not going to work somehow. Can we just put up some barrier here? Didn't they used to have a wood thing here on one side, and then we can just put chairs on the other side? Well, hey, Gopikita, let's not make it complicated. Where is it? Just get it and put it up. Okay. Okay. And then see if you can get another chair here, and we'll just make a barrier for these dogs. Okay. Okay. What are you going to sit on? Is it one more? Okay. Yeah, I'm giving it out, and they're training new dogs, and they're not well trained. What?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not at all.
They are in process.
Yeah.
Okay. So the contrast is so necessary too, because what the Bhagavatam wants to show is Krishna's love, and to show it at its height. So the best way to show it at its height is you take someone who's so exalted and he's still not at that level, and someone who can be humble enough to also and love Krishna enough to not be in this game that I'm not satisfied unless I'm supreme. So you can appreciate that. So, and then here, I mentioned also, this is called Rasika Shastra. So all this is explaining really the deepest love in every way. So, and then it describes, and you know, the love is coming here because this is Sukadeva Goswami. So he's explaining, he's describing Krishna as one who prapannārti-haro, prapannārti-haro, of one who takes away the anxiety of those who are surrendered. Who take, and why is that? And we explained that before. Why is that? Because there's no anxiety in reality. There's no anxiety in reality. And what is the reality? The reality is we're servants of Krishna and everything. And by doing that, there's no problems. We're protected. We're eternal. We're maintained. And we have the ultimate shelter. And what is the ultimate shelter? The ultimate shelter is where your heart can be satisfied. And where is your heart going to be satisfied? Where you have a perfect object of love. And a perfect object of love has to be eternal. And it has to be dear. So it's such a difficult thing. But if we can flip that switch, then it's all gone. If we can flip that switch, then all the drama is gone. We just accept that we're part of God. And he's the shelter. He's where we're going to fulfill our real essence. He is the water, we're the fish. The fish is out of water. It's so much anxiety, but there's a simple solution. Be a fish. So, and then Krishna takes the hand of who? Ekāntinaṁ bhakta, preṣṭhaṁ, the most dear. And he takes the hand. This means he's understand that this is such an important mission. So what is Krishna? I was speaking to Vaisheshika Prabhu yesterday, wonderful devotee, and he wants to write many books, and I was sharing with him some ideas, and I said, there's a book I always want to write, but I never wrote it, so you can write it. I gave him two things that I always wanted to write, but I'd rather someone else write it. And one is called The Mind of God, because the Bhagavatam demonstrates what is the mind of God. So here is also the mind of God, affectionately taking the hand of his devotee, who's ekāntinaṁ. Ekā means one-minded. There's nothing else. There's nothing else in his consciousness. Uddhava. And this is a very hard thing for the conditioned soul to accept. That we're not the supreme enjoyer, we're not that there's something higher than us. And if we have difficulty accepting it, just look at people that we respect and people we don't respect. People who respect accept that there's something higher than their own opinions and desires. They follow something rather than their impulses that are a reflection of the false ego, this desire to control and to enjoy. And they accept something and they live their life by that, some ideals. And that's another reason why I think in the modern world, things get so screwy, because there's a philosophy that is a philosophy that there's no truth. There's no distinctions. There's no reality. Except myself. And we don't like those type of people. We like people who follow ideals, that have character. So then, and he's bhagavān preṣṭhaṁ. He's most dear to bhagavān. Kichodava brajam somya pitro now pritam abaha gopinam mad viyogyadim mat sandeshir vimochita. This is called, again, Rasika Shastra, because everything about it is very, very deep devotion. And you read the Sanskrit because the language has such a feeling. So Krishna is saying, he's saying to Uddhava, Vrajam, Somya, O gentle one, O gentle one, Uddhava. And Uddhava means a person who's the embodiment of a festival of joy. Or one who's the embodiment of a festival of joy, then to my parents and carry to my parents sandeshai, carry these messages to my parents who are the yoga adim. They have the mental pain caused by separation. And what should you do? Preṣṭhaṁ, now pitro, preṣṭhaṁ, give priti, give some happiness, give some satisfaction to my parents who are suffering in separation, and give them my message. So this is also the mind of God. The mind of God, and we don't understand this. He's looking in all our hearts and figuring out how to make us happy. The whole law of karma is trying to make us happy. Parent punishes his child. If he loves the child, he's to make him happy. He just has to do it in the right way. The parent says, I love you so much that I'm not going to let you be a nonsense. And if it's done in the right way, when the child grows up, he has a lot of respect. They may fight. One parent here told me, because they don't like their child so much on social media all the time, and they don't let the child go out every evening. She said, I think my daughter hates me. I said, no, she loves you. She loves you. She loves you. I just thought even my own father, he had some parameters. Some parameters. Tell me this is nonsense, you don't need this, etc. But the result is, when I grow older, there's so much more respect. There's so much more respect. So, Tanman Masaksha mat prana mat arte takta daihika mameva dayitam preṣṭhaṁ atmanam manasagata ye takta loka dearmost mad arte tad vibhamaham. So the minds of these gopis are always absorbed in me. So in one sense, you could say, why are they not going? Why don't they all come here? Why don't they all come here? But so they're always absorbed in me. They've already, basically speaking, the separation from God on every single platform, material and spiritual, the separation from God is only a matter of consciousness. If your consciousness is there, you're with God. You can't localize God to a material and put him under time and space. In terms of where God is in this destination, he's everywhere. And he appears where people have love. Someone gave this I was reading someplace of the arrogance of people who deny God because God won't appear to them, as if they have this kind of power and control. And the absolute truth, our relationship to the absolute truth is seva. The absolute truth only comes for seva. He doesn't come to be exploited by someone. So that's our consciousness. And their very lives are devoted, ever devoted to me. For my sake, they have abandoned everything related to their bodies, renouncing ordinary happiness in this life, as well as religious duties necessary for such happiness. And Krishna says, Napareham, there's no way I can repay them. Because they gave up everything for me. They even gave up their good karma. It's easy to give up your bad karma, but try to give up your good karma. Mm-hmm. And what's the good karma? They had families and it was intact. and they had reputations, and they were chaste, and they gave up everything for Krishna. And Krishna is a person. And the supremacy of a person is their ability to love. And when you love someone, you are under their desires. When you love someone, their desires rule you. So if we think that Krishna is the powerful supreme personality of Godhead and he's not affected by love, we don't appreciate that in people. If we give our lives and there's no reciprocation, we don't appreciate that. God is not impersonal. Because he's not impersonal, he's controlled by love. So he said, they've given up everything for me. They've sacrificed everything for me. Therefore, I alone am their dear most beloved, indeed their very self. I personally sustain such devotees who for my sake give up worldly duties. So here's the image. The image is that God's a person and he loves everyone and wants the best for everyone. Samaham sarvabhuteshu name dveshasana. I am equal to everyone, but for my devotees, I am in them. I had one relative, an uncle, and even in that age, he had a PhD from Cornell, and he was a teacher, and he was very altruistic. He would help everyone, but he also treated his daughter equally. He didn't specially give to his daughter. So Krishna's like that. He helps everyone, but he doesn't have the defect of impersonality. So now here's God is expressing, and this is, again, this is to show us and convince us that what is our actual swarta. Nate vidu swarta gatim hi Vishnu. Nate vidu, they do not know swarta, that their self-interest or value is Vishnu. And it's going to be discussed here. There's nothing more important. There's nothing more important than our soul. And Krishna is the soul of our soul. It's our self-interest. So why won't he help his most exalted devotees? Mayita prayasam preṣṭhaṁ duraste gokulastriya parantyo nigamuyanti gṛhītvā vivala. So we were discussing, I was teaching these devotees here. They were in theater. And so I was teaching them the waves of devotion. And what the waves of devotion shows, it shows that Krishna is a connoisseur of love, because God is a supreme enjoyer. And what type of love does he enjoy? He enjoys love that's at its height. And love that's at its height has various emotional components that bring a particular affection to its height. So it goes something like this. It's like Gṛhītvā for Radhaswami wanted to cook sweet rice. So I said, what is the ratio of rice to milk? She said 8:1. I said, no, it's not 8:1. You go look at it. I think it's 16:1 or 20:1. Otherwise, you just get rice paste. So a connoisseur of food appreciates things when they're done properly. So Jiva Goswami gave that example of sweet rice, that the milk should not be cooked too much, otherwise it's rice paste. Shouldn't be cooked too little, otherwise it's rice floating in milk. It shouldn't be too much sugar, otherwise it shouldn't be too little sugar. Rice shouldn't be too cooked, it shouldn't be too mushy. Spices, saffron should be, a particular yellow, cardamom. So if that's there, it becomes relishable by someone who can enjoy food. And it's not a bad quality. You need cultured people who maintain standards, that appreciate things, because things that are done well have the most effect on the consciousness, on the emotions, on the culture of society. So I told her, no, I said, you get the recipe. Because where I lived upstate New York, Holiday Vidyabhushana, the assistant of Satsarup Maharaj, his sweet rice it's another level. When I come here and they say this is sweet rice and it's rice paste, I don't. But Krishna is the connoisseur of love, and love has different components. So those of you may have heard it, but I'll explain these 5. First, it's the basic cause of love. And the basic cause of love has 2 components. Cause of love has 2 components. One is the basic cause. It's called the Lambhan. And the Lambhan has 2 divisions. There must be the object and subject of love. For example, if it's conjugal love, there must be the woman who's young and the boy who's not a child. It must be. And if it's parents, then the object of love is a child, right? Or not, I say, if it's conjugal, the object of love is Krishna, but at what age? Between 11 and 15. It's not Krishna at 5. And who's the subject of love? It's the gopis. And then if there's parental love, then the object of love must be a child. And the subject of love must be the parents and the elders. And it gets very, very technical, because it describes all the qualities of Krishna, etc., and his age and his body and so many things. So that's the basic cause of affection. If you read in the Shastra, if there's a relationship with Krishna, the basic cause is the appropriate object of love, which is Krishna, particular age that demonstrates particular qualities, and the subject of love. And then under the cause of love, there must be the excitant cause, like a match that lights it. So there must be Krishna's flute or something, or so that's the basic cause. That's the cause of love is vibhav. But then there must be anubhav. There must be actions of love. And each relationship has different actions. If it's the conjugal relationship with Krishna, Madhurya Ras, there's sidelong glances. The parents don't give sidelong glances to their kids. There must be the appropriate actions of love. Or the one who's the servant of Krishna pays obeisances. But the parent doesn't go to their baby child and start sharing prayers of reverence and then pay obeisances. So there's different actions. And then sattvika bhav means there must be love that's so powerful that it invokes involuntary physical reactions, that tears come and hairs stand on end. And then there must be vyabhichari bhav, which means born from that love, there must be so many transitory emotions. Like when Uddhava comes into Vrindavan, and Vrindavan is completely overwhelmed with separation. But the Leela Shakti, the potency of Krishna that organizes the Leela, also wants Uddhava to see the joy that's also in Vrindavan, although it's not manifest there. So when he comes in Vrindavan, Yogamaya covers all the distress, and you see these images of the cows and people calling the cows and the joy and the jubilation. And so these are all vyabhichari bhavs that express, but the other thing, when they're in separation, then there's disappointment and near death and anxiety and fear, but everything turns to love. So every verse is like that. So he said, for Uddhava, for these women of Gokul, I am the most cherished, the preṣṭhaṁ, I am the preṣṭhaṁ, of all objects of endearment, I am the most dear. And then it says, in separation, what happens to them? They become stunned. So what's that? That's sattvika bhav. They just become like frozen. Just like when Krishna left Vrindavan and the gopis followed him, all of a sudden they became so overwhelmed with emotion that they became stunned. They couldn't move. And when they remember me, it was so far away, this vivala, they become overwhelmed with okontya, anxiety. So what is this? He's just describing how their minds are in me, their thoughts are me, they give everything up me, they're filled with emotion with me, they remember me, I am the preṣṭhaṁ, preṣṭhaṁ, the most object of love, and they're stunned in separation, they're overwhelmed with anxiety. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing here the highest love. And how are they living? Because in that stage of the highest love, when God is your life, without God, there's no life. So you would prefer to be dead. But because you love Krishna so much, you don't want to hurt him. You prefer that let me leave this world. But because you love Krishna, you won't cause him that pain. And that's also one of the emotions. I wish I was dead out of love for Krishna. And what's described, it's beyond duality, because it's all the highest love. It's all the highest love. So somehow it's all ecstasy. So how are they living? Well, how? Ati kritrena. Ati means very, extreme difficulty. Narayanti. They're holding on to their lives with extreme difficulty. That's how they're holding on to their lives. Because they're just so in separation from Krishna. I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. But let me hold on to my life, because Krishna will be in anxiety if I leave. It's so difficult. I'd rather leave, but let me hold on to my life. And praya pranam. How? Great difficulty. they barely hold on to their lives. So this is trying to give us an image that there is an ultimate reality. There's an ultimate reality with the highest love. And this is what it means. This is what it means. That in separation from your object of love, with great difficulty, you're holding on to your life with a thread. The thread, and what's the thread? What's the thread? Prati agama sandesh. Because I told them I'll return. I gave them a little bit of hope. And who is doing this? Mat Atmaka. These people that are fully dedicated to me. And basically, if you want to bring it to a philosophical platform, it's the ultimate reality. They have universal love, the ultimate reality. Now, this is Sukadeva Goswami. And now let's hear Sukadeva Goswami's, he's describing it. Thus addressed, O king, Uddhava respectfully accepted his master's message, mounted his chariot, and set off for Gokul. So this is also bhava. But what's the bhava? What's the relationship that Uddhava has? His relationship is very special. Uddhava's relationship is called parishad. He's a servant because outside of Vrindavan, Krishna manifests his majesty. So the intimacy is not full because there's a conception of his divinity. So there's no equality. Friendship is equality. So when Ram and his friends are having a race, the friends compete with him, but then they let Ram win. Because Krishna's friends, they try to defeat Krishna. Because there's a sense of equality in that type of love. It's pure friendship. So outside of Vrindavan, there's some kind of divinity. But what is this divinity? But Uddhava is a friend, but it's also Gaurava Priti. He's a confidant. He's very close. He's not exactly a friend, but it's kind of you have a close advisor, and there's not as much reverence. So this is Uddhava's position. So he has that sense of my master, and the anubhav in relationship with a superior is to carry out the order and the service. That's your bhav. You wait like this, and your greatest joy, right? If Prabhupada calls someone and gives him a mission. I remember in Prabhupada's last days, Prabhupada in his last days, he was in Vrindavan, and then at the end, he said, take me to Govardhan. take me to Govardhan. And he asked some devotees to go get bullock carts. So, you know, they took the order. You know what I'm saying? So it says here, Sandesh Pritya, they're taking the order of who? Bartu, of his master. How? Advrita, respectfully. In relationship between a superior and a junior, the flavor of love, because Krishna, variety is the spice of life, so Krishna is enjoying all types of love. There's different flavors of love. So the fifth bhava is this flavor of love that doesn't change in any relationship. So for friendship, it's equality. For parental love, it's mercy. It's mercy. That's the flavor of love, mercy. Right? It's mercy.
Bhava is the flavor.
Staibab means this, that you have, every relationship has a flavor of love, and it's different. Like the flavor with a friendship is this equality. But the flavor with, like, if you're a parent, what's the flavor of your love? It's not equality, it's mercy. Anugraha, affection. So the affection goes down. The affection goes down. And the respect goes up. Because to the superior, it's called prabhutigan. Understanding of their superiority is the flavor. And therefore there's prayers. There's prayers like of greatness. So Krishna is enjoying all these different flavors of love. So here there's also rasa that Sandesham, the message, Bartu, respectfully, and then doing it immediately. Not like when my mother asked me to take out the garbage. I had one short by Vishakti. So I was supposed to take out the garbage. And when my mother said, take out the garbage, I said, I will. Yeah. Then later, she would come an hour or 2 hours to take out I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. You know? And
that
then,
never happens.
Then 3 hours later, you know, would you take out, you know, and then finally you hear, Wally, you call my father. Wally, get in trouble. You know, that's not culture. That's not, you know, the real love, right? The real love is when you get that order. The exhibition of love is, you know, yes, I will do it. I will do it. And it's a love. It's not just begrudging, it's actually a love. And the person appreciates the love. And I was explaining in the beginning, it's almost the education in America is to teach disrespect for the parents. You know, they're not that important. You don't really have to listen to them. We actually know better. That's what's happening. It's not the same. And what it does, it deprives the children of that love and affection in the heart, which is so nice when you do have those relationships with parents. I mean, one time there was one hardcore guy, and he was a real rebel, right? He was a real rebel. But anyway, he was developing a relationship with me as his teacher. So he was I had a room, and there was a door in between my room and his room. And then at night, I hear a knock on the door, and he opens the door, and he's on his knees, and he says, may I take rest? And I look at him. This is so uncharacteristic. He said, I never had this before. I want to try this. I want to try this kind of flavor of love. you don't grow up with that. You know, they say it's the respect, right? And I always tell this story, and people laugh. With is, you know, my father was a little bit formal, but he was a father. Right? So he'd be sitting in his chair in his living room, and the stairs from the bedrooms go downstairs, and I was a little naughty. So I would say to him, his name was Walter, right? And he was a master mason, so that they even have the title, worshipful, Walter Winokur, you know, it was like, and I would walk down the stairs and say, "How you doing, Wally?" And he would look at me and he would say, "I'm not your friend, I'm your father." And then I would say, "Okay, Wally," and then run away. But there was, this is nourishing. This is nourishing. This is fills people with love when they have proper respect for adults. And the present culture in America is destroying. We're destroying people's hearts by not having the proper values, the proper respect, the proper relationships. One thing about Krishna Lila that's so powerful is it shows you what love is, and it should be reflected in this world. If we want to have healthy hearts, we have to have the proper relationships, and culture is used to maintain those relationships. So people's hearts can be nourished in many ways. I used to have the service after Prabhupada disappeared of going to the senior Vaishnavas in Vrindavan, going to and inviting them to Prabhupada's disappearance day. So I went and I went to see Narai March to invite him. And anyway, he was very humble. I said, you know, he said, "What will I say?" I said, "Well, you know, Prabhupada lived with you. You knew Prabhupada." He said, "I didn't know Prabhupada." "How do you say I know Prabhupada?" It's just like when you go before the deities, if you're just joking with your friends, do you know Krishna? He said, "I didn't know who Prabhupada was." I said, "Well, why don't you just explain the qualities you saw in Prabhupada then that indicate what he would become in the future?" And he said, the ability to relate. He said, when Prabhupada was with a child, he can be so affectionate. When he was with friends, he can be so, you know, and when he was with senior, he can be so respectful. That's what a cultured person is. A cultured person knows how to relate, and a proper society teaches them how to do that. And therefore the person is cultured, and they know how to communicate, and therefore they can learn. I know Tamal Krishna Maharaj, when he went to the university, he was a very powerful person. Very powerful person. When he went to the university to study, he would carry his teacher's books to the next room. Because he learned that in Krishna consciousness. So anyway, I'm here in Colombia where there's still some remnants. There's still some remnants of the culture left. Even yesterday, amazing. Near the ashram here, there's this place called the Juicery. And the people that are here, they're crazy for the Juicery. And they're friends with us. They're kind of people connected with the ashram. The best cold pressed juice in the world. The fresh fruits from Colombia. And the cacao, cashew milk, you know, whatever the things they make. So they go over there. The people that are here, they always go over there. It's like people like to go out. So they go over there and they met a couple. And the couple was so interested, and then they came here and they met me. Husband and wife, they're both architects. Just, I don't know, where did these people come from? They're just so loving, so respectful, so their minds are so balanced. They love their mothers and fathers. They have no problems at home. It's like, where? And they're picking me up today. They're picking me up today to show me their land. They have land about 15 minutes from here. They'll come at 1:45 here. They never met Shyam Sundari and Sri Govinda, and they'll show them our land. Anyway, I'm a patriot. I love America, but I have to call a spade a spade. The culture, the respect, those values. Okay. Wow, I went 1 minute over. Jamuna Jaya, why don't you usually share something with everyone here? Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Thank you for class, Maharaj. I really appreciated, first of all, the name of Uddhava, meaning the embodiment of the festival of joy. I'd never heard that. So that was really wonderful. But I really like the point, and I never thought about it, that the people that we respect are people who look up to something, that have some sort of values, that understand there's something higher than themselves. And when I was thinking about it, I know there are people I respect. I never thought that is really what attracts me to them. So thank you for pointing out that point. And one more thing, I always think the pastime of you with your dad coming down the steps is eternal, because I never tire of hearing it. I love that pastime so much.
You never get tired.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, Maharaj?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. No, I always love that pastime of see you, Wally. I just could imagine it. I never tire of hearing about it.
I know, that's why I tell it again. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Anybody else say hello to our people here? Or to me?
Hare Krishna, everybody. You don't know me, but Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
That's the mysterious Akashvani, the voice from the sky.
Yeah, we're going to say Akash today too. But Maharaj, I just wanted to appreciate, so much the way you broke down the 5 elements of a relationship, and how you compared it to sweet rice. And actually, you gave me a deeper realization today too of the, I think it's the alumna aspect, where, a relationship, because it always struck me that, it just seems so obvious that, of course, a relationship requires the participants of a relationship,
Yeah.
A relationship requires its participants. So that seems so obvious. But today when you said, well, you can't have a person of one mood, a subject of one mood and the object of another mood, that won't work,
Right.
So that was nice. But, one thing I wanted to ask you is that, the gopis, they were so, their heart was aching so much for Krishna, and Krishna told them, I'll be back, but when it got too much, how much he was going for, what, 125 years? Like, how come they didn't just break down and just go and get them themselves? When it's just too much, you just can't abide by, what a person says, especially them.
They weren't just listening to what Krishna was saying. It's just such an inappropriate place for them. It's like Nanda Maharaj. Why did Nanda Maharaj go back? It was just, well, there's also the Leela Shakti, but it's such an inappropriate place because
Maharaj, these people, they went to the forest in the dead of night and they were married. And they defied all moral codes, so I mean,
Krishna was in Dwarka. It was hundreds and hundreds of miles away.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another one we'll just meditate on. Okay. One or two more people want to say hello?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Tota Gopinath here, and Haribol to Sham Ashram.
Haribol. Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hello, everybody. Hola.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Gurudev, thanks for the class.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Maharaj.
everyone.
This is
Hare
from-
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hello. Okay, great. Haribol.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna everybody at the Sham Ashram. Haribol.
Actually, when I get back, as soon as I get back, Lal will have cooked lunch for me. He's a very expert cook, very expert at deity worship, and he's a ladies' hairstylist too. That's what he does. He's also the barber to the pure devotees. Okay, anybody else?
Haribol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Hemala Tarrada.
Kishore Das, Haribol, hola, Shabbat.
Haribol. Okay, great to see
Thank you so much for class, Maharaj.
Okay, you're back in Argentina now?
Yes, Maharaj, we just arrived home yesterday night.
Oh, how was your stay in the Bhakti Center?
It was wonderful, Maharaj, really lovely.
Okay. Okay, good. We'll talk about that. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hey,
Sorry.
Shri Haribol.
I'm
Good.
missing you and all the devotees there.
Missing you.
Okay. The devotees here say they miss you too, Shri Rupa. Anybody else? Hey, Jayanta from Vrindavan. Anyway, you're not. Haribol, Jayanta. He's in Vrindavan now. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the class.
Okay, this is also Shana from Moscow. I can't, there's a Shana here. How do you pronounce your name again? Pronounce your name for everybody.
My name is Ksenia.
Okay. She's from Moscow. Okay, thank you for coming. We'll see you in Kartik, okay?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, we will end there. Fun today. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha.